Good morning everybody, how are you today? I hope you're well. Welcome back to Slow Gardening Day. Carrying on from where I left off after doing the broad beans. It's now all about the garlic and the elephant garlic, which I've got a separate plan for. Goodness me, the sun is really, well, you can see, can't you, behind me, the sun is really trying to shine. The warmth is building as the morning goes on. I've taken my fleece off now, just in my hoodie. It's perfect. Apart from the occasional aeroplanes, it's perfect. I've got quite a lot to do today, but it's so beautiful at the moment. I don't want to rush and I don't want to be huffing and puffing too much. So I've sort of promised myself that I'll do the garlic in this same sort of slow, quiet mood. And then I'm going to have to buck my ideas up and get a bit more of a wriggle on and get a bit more physical with stuff. But I think it's really important. I'm sure you all get this sensation from time to time too. I think it's really important every now and again to just slow down. Did you hear the birds then? You know, we all work so hard in our gardens. It's so hard all year. I think it's easy to forget to just either go more slowly or stop completely and appreciate it. Hear the beauty in the garden. See it, obviously. Smell, at this time of year, that damp soil smell. The first of the leaves beginning to decay. It's a gorgeous, rich smell at this time of year, isn't it? So yes, take some time out and just stop completely if you can. If you can't stop completely, do whatever it is you're doing, but do it nice and slowly. Now, just before we go into the garden and get on with the garlic, after I finish the broad beans, Rusty just jumped up, but I've got a seed tray next to me for the garlic. He's just landed and skidded in the seed tray. Yes, just as I was finishing with the broad beans, oh dear, well, maybe it's rescuable. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted the loofah, which I'd forgotten to fleece. Now, to me, it looks like it's sort of supposed to look as in it's come to the end of its growing and it's getting ready to dry. It's still a bit squashy and a bit damp because obviously we've had so much rain, crazy rain, and we're getting these really heavy dews in the morning. So I've taken it off. I'm going to take it home, see if I can dry it at home, and if I can, it's going to be the world's smallest ever loofah, but it'll be my loofah. I will have grown myself a pot scourer or a bum scourer. I don't mean like after the loo, I mean in the bath. You know what I mean. Anyway, so dare I hope for it to work? I don't know, but it's going to come home with me today where it's nice and warm and dry, and hopefully it'll finish drying out and then I can strip the skin off, get the seeds out. Whatever happens, I will show you the result, because even if it's a disaster, I'll share that with you. Okay, let's go and get on with some garlic. Gosh, the sun is so bright and so low. It's right in my eyes. What's amazing is it's only 11 o'clock in the morning. The sun at the moment is there. 3 months ago at 11 o'clock the sun would have been there and much higher. It's crazy that by noon these days the shed is in shade. Actually, saying that though, the shed being in shade for, you know, when the sun is at its warmest, it's 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's great, because obviously the shed is now my storage, one of my storage areas. So for example, I've still got a wheelbarrow full of potatoes. Actually, I've pulled it out of the shed for now because it's too bulky. I need to get those bagged up, and they will sit and store quite happily in the cool of the shed over winter. I've got tons of butternut, not just butternut, tons of my squash in there still. I am of course taking a few home each time I come backwards and forwards from the garden. But yes, a lot of shade by noon, great for storage, but a bit chilly for just sitting out. Anyway, right, let's get on with the garlic. So, now, I know the vast majority of you will know this because you will have done it time and time again. But for those of you who've never grown garlic and aren't sure, and I do get asked this, so I'm not saying this in a patronising way, because let's face it, if you've never had a teacher, say your parent or your grandparents, if no one in your family has ever gardened and grown veggies before, how are you supposed to know these things? You don't plant the whole bulb of garlic. We need to divide it into its individual cloves. So, bit of a messy job, that's why I'm sitting here with the seed tray, which Rusty had just jumped into. Get in there. As I mentioned in the previous video, I don't know what varieties of garlic I have because over the years I've just saved. So for instance, I've still got loads in the shed for eating over the winter, and that's what I will use now for sowing, planting and sowing. I suppose it's sowing seeds, but planting if it's something bigger than a seed. You know, we plant our seed potatoes, don't we? We don't sow them. So I guess I'm planting garlic. Okay, so don't worry about getting all the loose paper off. Just get the cloves separated. Actually, there's some, they're quite a good size. It's so bright, can you even make it out? It'll take a little while, a little bit of a fiddly job, but like I said, I'm trying not to hurry today. If where you are, the weather's really inclement and chilly, just do this at home the evening before, when you're cosy indoors at home. So, paper off, split off the cloves. I'll carry on with that in a second because it will take me a while. Then of course I've got these beautiful ones from Belinda, which I remembered at the last second in the previous video, and because they're from Belinda, they're going to get a little label. Now, if I was to leave this in the ground, in open ground, the foxes would have this label out in 2 seconds and mash it. Oh, it was for Coco de Pampoil a couple of years ago, but I will have nets on all these as well, so this will be within the nets, so hopefully the foxes won't get at it. So because they're different, oh, they've got a little lilac-y purplish tinge to them. Isn't that beautiful? Make out the colour. I'll separate them. Whoopla, don't lose any. There we go. As I break these ones up, I'm just going to put them separately in a pot with the Belinda label to make sure I don't forget which is which. Right, let me get on with this and then come back to me. Nearly there. I'm just dividing them between 4 pots because I want 4 rows. Ideally I'll get about 25 in a row, and then if they all do okay, gives me 100 garlic, a couple of garlic a week, that keeps me going. And look, just in the time it's taken me to do that, can you see how the sun has moved round already? I was going to say let's get a skedaddle on, but I don't want to be too skedaddly whilst I do the garlic. But yes, they're ready. Dibber, straight lines ready. Let's go down the garden and plant some garlic. Just a slight delay to getting going. because what's really, really lovely at the moment is, hang on, let me get my first bit of string in so I can talk and work. Yeah, we've suddenly got loads of new plotters. It always used to be that if a plot was being given up, or if it had sort of gone to rack and ruin and they got notice from the committee to vacate, it always used to happen in March, because that's our year starts in March in terms of a rental year. Now, of course, getting a plot, that line's not straight, getting a plot in March it's not ideal. It's better than nothing, but it's not ideal. But this year what's great is all these new plot holders getting their plots in September and October. It's fantastic because it means that they've got the whole winter to, clear brambles and all that stuff, whatever. They've got all winter to sort of think about where they want to put paths. Basically, they've got the whole winter to organise where they're going to have everything. All winter to build beds if they want to have edged beds. All winter to dig out couch grass if that's something we want to do. I'm stripping because it's getting beautifully warm in this light. Absolutely gorgeous. So yes, one of the new plot holders was having just a little bit of a walk around with her little one. So sweet. She's identifying the herbs in my herb bed. She's like tiny wee thing. So she's just gone off now with a handful of my calendula seed for her to scratch into the soil today. So sweet. And yeah, it's lovely because it sounds like they've been doing quite a lot of veg growing at home. So hopefully they'll be the kind of plot holders who stick with it and give it a good go. Now, my other slight delay in getting going. Oh, sorry, I should just say, as I'm doing, just before I do this, I've divvied all my cloves into the pots. So I've got different ones, the ones from Belinda, what have you. I'm going to get 4 rows in. I might try and sneak a 5th row in. I'm just going to lay them all on the surface initially, just so I can eyeball my spacing, make sure I'm happy with it before I then poke them all in, and I'll give you a closer look when I do that. But yes, my other slight delay is my lovely friend Gary is down this morning. So we were just having a chat and a catch up. Now, he got his garlic in a couple of days ago. So what's interesting is he's thrown out the rule book this year, so we'll have to wait and see. But in the past, he's done absolutely everything right, absolutely by the rule book, giving them every possible chance. But every year, his crop is, well, in his own words, it's a bit disastrous by way of, oh, the size of that clove, by way of rot and just really poor growth. So this year, he's doing the opposite of what he's done every other year. Firstly, he's going to grow them in the same bed that he grew this year's crop in. Ooh, no rotation. Secondly, he's not adding any sand. He normally adds sand. Oh, it's just going past now. He's having no compost added. What else did he say? Oh, he's crammed in more than he should. You know, they do need a bit of space. I'll talk about that when I give you a bit of a closer look. But yes, he, like I said, thoroughly and totally thrown out the rule book this year. As like he says himself, if he does everything perfectly and still gets a rubbish harvest, what's the point? So you might as well start off being rubbish and see what happens. You never know. Right, so these are Belinda's beautiful lilac-y coloured ones. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have enough for a 5th row. Just want as much as possible out of my garden every time. If I've got the space. Oh, my spacing's gone a bit wonky. Oh, I see that line start a bit. This is what I mean about laying them out. Yeah, if I've got the space, I'm jolly well going to use it. Fill it up. So it's interesting, isn't it? I think, like I was saying with the... Oh, that one's a hinky one. Like I was saying with the broad beans, you know, sometimes the books will say, leave a metre between rows. Just have the confidence sometimes to experiment and do your own thing. Now, there are some rules which, you know, they are rules. I'm trying to say that in inverted commas without using my hands. There are some rules which are there for a reason. And if you go against them, then what you're going to get. But I think so often it's based on some old practice, out-of-date practice even, maybe. So yeah, have the courage, the confidence every now and again. Woohoo! Just do your own thing, because you never know. Might be the best thing ever. Right, let's get these little pretties in. Get rid of that lump. So when I'm planting my garlic, I always like to dib a hole for it. And in terms of, again, I know there's lots of you who know this, and I don't mean it in a patronising way, but for those who are new, that was the bottom of the garlic when it was sitting in a bulb like that. That's where the roots are going to come from. That's where the growth is going to come from, so it goes in that way. And I like to dib a hole because where our roots are going to come from there, that's quite precious. And I don't want to just sort of ram it into the soil and damage that area. I don't want to ram it in and possibly hit a stone. So I like to dip my little hole, get them down there, nice and safe, and then just cover over. In terms of depth, I go about 1.5 to 2 times the depth of the garlic. So in doing that, hopefully when their first little shoots come, the first little shoots, as they're coming up, they won't appear for a while, and whilst they're developing, obviously the root is developing, and I hope to stop the pigeons and other birds plucking them out by delaying the sign of that growing tip whilst the roots are getting established. So that's one reason. But also, if you plant them quite shallowly, they can sort of almost throw themselves out of the soil. I know, it seems crazy, doesn't it? Oh, and just like when I was doing the broad beans, it's an absolute pleasure to be getting something into the ground that's going to start growing so that I can enjoy the beautiful new life, beautiful new green shoots in a few weeks when so much else of the garden has been thoroughly tucked up for winter. My soil isn't ideal for garlic in that it's so wet and heavy, despite all the compost over the years, but it's the soil I've got, so in they go. And actually, I do manage an alright harvest every year. Ooh, lots of bending today. I will put the nets back on them when I've finished to stop the foxes being curious and also keep the birds off. Once all my shoots are up, I will mulch the entire bed and the nets will come off. And then come February next year, I will give the whole bed a top dressing of chicken manure it's had some raked in now, but by February, yeah, they'll probably do with another bit of a feed. Oh, nearly there. Bendy, bendy. It's definitely the kind of day of jobs for not doing if your back's a bit cronky. Ooh. Absolutely beautiful warmth in this sunshine now. Amazing. Right, well, I will get on with this lot, and one of you can pop the kettle on. Is that straight? Oh, let's go on the other side, not quite. Oh yeah. Yep, that'll do. Right, next lot. Oh my goodness. Days like today are heaven sent. I can't get over how beautiful it is. It's magical today. It really is. It's so special. I think it's partly that we're having such a bright day after so many dark, dreary, damp days. There's real warmth in that sun. All my layers are off pretty much. But there's, apart from a little bit of building going on in the aeroplanes, there's a real quiet and still quality to the day. It's lovely. It's brought a few other plot holders out. And because it's so still, what's lovely is just getting little snippets of conversations here and there where we're all catching up with each other, having not been here for ages because of the rain. There's a real sort of gentle quality to it all. I wish somehow on days like today I could sort of wrap it up in a bundle and hide it away in the back of a cupboard to be opened up in the middle of winter when I'm feeling really down in the dumps. And what's lovely, I don't know if you remember, but quite a few weeks ago I recycled I free-cycled some packing paper. I showed you the roll of it in the shed from sort of the next village over. Absolute masses of it. It's not quite right for my needs, but one of my neighbours who has just appeared, I don't know how we got onto the subject, she's an artist, and she was talking about, we got onto the subject of packing, and she'd ordered some packing materials and they weren't right for her needs. That's how we got onto it, because she's brought it down here to put in the compost. But I said, oh, let me show you something, because I still got half of it in the shed. Showed it to her and it's perfect for her. So I'm chuffed that this stuff that I free cycled but haven't really been able to use, she is going to be able to use. So I'm going to bring the other big roll of it down here to give to her next weekend. I love it. Such a beautiful community here. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to be on this site. Yeah, lovely people. Right, back on with the jobs. I need to get these peppers off today. This is my du long de londe. French peppers. It's a sweet pepper. Ideally I'd like them red. Yay! They can be eaten green. I'm getting them off now because, well, we are definitely getting more chilli, which they won't like, but also I now need this grow bag. I'm going to try and put the elephant garlic in here. Well, I'm not going to try and put it in here. I am going to put it in here. I'm going to try to grow it. Oh, that's not a good one. I can go in the compost. Oh, yeah, I think these are a bit frosted already, as is that one. Beautiful, beautiful glossy beauties. I mean, look at those in the sunshine. Oh, gorgeous. I've also got the ones in the hugel culture to get out today too. I don't think they've done any better or worse than the ones in the grow bag. So, you know, the hugel culture's worked in so much as it hasn't killed anything. Has it worked better? Who knows? It'll be interesting to see how it does next year, because all that material in the bottom will have started to rot down a bit more. So yeah, we'll see next year. But back to this year, and in the meantime, let's just snip out all of this foliage. More chopping up to do for the compost heap, to be spread onto whichever bed. I know not which bed just yet, but it will go on a bed. Right, let me get on with this while you guys do something else, and then we'll come back and plant these gorgeous chunky monkey elephant garlic. Okay, so I've got the peppers out. Now, I don't have any more compost at the moment, so I've just kind of been running my fingers through it to loosen it up a bit. There's obviously lots of little bits of the fibrous bits of the roots of the peppers in there, but that's fine, they can just all compost down. Now, I have never ever grown elephant garlic before, and like I was saying, I did a quick little bit of looking up. I mean, look at the size, aren't they gorgeous? And I understand it's more, think of it more like a leek than a garlic. I could plant them and then harvest them next year, and they should be a bigger bulb, and then roast that whole bulb. They don't have a strong taste, so you wouldn't be using a clove like this and adding it to, you know, your curries, your salads, whatever it is, to get that garlicky kick. But I have heard that roasting a whole one, they taste absolutely gorgeous. So I don't know, it seems like quite a bit of work for one thing to harvest. So what I'm going to do with the third one, I'm going to grow it as a perennial, so that hopefully I can keep coming back to it and harvesting from it each year. We'll see. Anyway, they won't grow unless they're in the soil. So, and the other thing is, if I do keep one as a perennial, and I decide actually this works really well as a perennial, then maybe what I could do is, when it gives off its little side shoots, take a couple off and plant them in here, and just have this whole grow bag as a permanent thing. We'll see. Anyway, it's an experiment. I'm not really sure how deep to plant them, but I'm going to go with my rule of what I do for my garlic anyway. I'm going to plant it twice its depth, so that's how tall the garlic is, and I'll make it so that the soil level is here. So 1, can you see that? 1, 2. I hope that's right. Here goes nothing. And I'm also thinking maybe I should put a little bit of metal mesh over the top of this bag now, so that the squirrels don't think, oh, wonderful place to stash nuts, or come along and think, oh, I wonder if there are nuts in there. So yeah, I'll get that covered over with a bit of metal grid, and gosh, now all I have to do is wait months and months and months to see what it might do next year. And thank you so much for giving me a fun experiment. And probably the other thing I'll do, as I said, because this is the old used compost from the peppers this summer, they will have obviously nicked quite a lot of the nutrition. I might give it a top dressing. I'll probably give it a top dressing of a little bit of the chicken pellets, and then see how they do when they come up, but maybe a top dressing of more compost, almost certainly a top dressing of something to mulch them with. But first things first, let me go and get some metal to put over the top of it, some wire. The sun's moved just past my neighbour's trees. There's a small slither of it there, so I'm making the most of it. George is sitting just there, wondering about coming a bit closer. Hey buddy. I really don't want to go home today. I don't think I ever want to go home from the garden, but today in particular, it just feels like we'll never have a day like this again this year. I don't mean that in a dramatic, gloomy way. I just mean we're so lucky to have had this sunshine, this brightness, this warmth all morning. We're well into the afternoon now, it's about 2 o'clock. I have got other jobs to do in the garden, but I've had a phone call, so I need to go and attend, and my knees are feeling absolutely rubbish today, so it can wait for another day. And we are due to have a dry couple of weeks now, so I won't push it today. I've got my planting done. That was the main thing. The planting is done. Harvesting, what's left to harvest? Oh, I think it's just the flint corn now. And then I think, oh, let me budge up a bit. If George isn't going to come and have it, he's now sitting underneath my table. Yeah, in terms of harvesting, I'm pretty much there. I'm going to have off I've had off the last of my Dulong and on peppers. I'll have the last of my paprika peppers out. What else? Is that it? Surely that's not it. Oh, the last of the achocha. I'm going to start harvesting some of my celery to take home to dry. Now, I have overwintered it, no problem, in the past. But I'm just going to have a little experiment by taking some home, drying it. Hello, chirpy chirpy. Yeah, take it home to dry, and then I'm going to mill it, whiz it up in the old NutriBullet to use as a flavouring for soups. So I'm going to store it dried. Took me ages to get there, didn't it? Yes, so most of the harvesting done, the autumn sowing and planting done. Now it's going to all be about those wonderful autumn jobs of a day to take down the bean poles. Probably will take me that long. Any of the plants that have gone over, which are still in the ground, to get them out, chopped up, scatter them on the beds, empty the compost bin onto the beds, gather some leaves onto the beds, gather some cardboard onto the beds. So yeah, I think just getting those couple of things sown in terms of the garlic and the broad beans, having this beautiful day where I've gone so slowly and taken the time to just quietly talk with my plot friends. It's great. It's settled my mind that everything's on track. Everything is going to be okay, as the little sign in my shed says. So, I do have to go home now and attend to this phone call, but before I do, I'm simply going to sit here for 15 minutes and lap it up while I can. So for now, cheerio from me and George. George! Oh, his ears turned back then. Probably nodded his name, or just that I was calling him. Anyway, yes, cheerio to you all. I really hope you all get a day like today in your gardens at some point in the next few weeks. If you do, somehow bottle it to save it for the winter. Bye for now.